Go.
Hi, I'm Charly Shelton, and welcome to Park Central. We have another great show for you today. We have a couple of panelists here. We have Mike from MUSE TV and Darth Norm from Horror Buzz. How you guys doing?
I'm fine. I'm in mourning
Not
right
as good
now.
as Norm's doing.
I understand. It's because of Halloween Horror Nights being canceled, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, we all kind of figured it was coming.
Oh, I know. We all knew it was coming, but the thing is, and it's actually a good thing, but damn it. Like that.
I know. Well, maybe there will be a couple of very small haunts that can design them to be socially distanced, and they'll get their time to shine this year. That was the first thing I thought of when I saw that it was canceled. Is one, Knott's Berry Farm is going to be not far after, and two, boy, is it great to be a home haunter this year.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and it's funny because actually early on in the year, when Midsummer Scream canceled, I was like, if this continues, we're going to be heavily leaning on home haunts and yard displays and things like that, because it's number one, it's private residences. They're not obligated to adhere to state standards and things like that, which is not always a good thing. But at the same time, they're not like restricted like that. Secondly, with yard displays, there are no actors there. Generally, there are not.
Yeah.
And and you could just look at it. But
yeah, there are other things, like there's a haunt that I went to in, I think it was Massachusetts. It might have been right over the border. I think it was Massachusetts, and they did a haunted hayride of sorts, but not in the way we know from Griffith Park. It was actually like they just had a giant stake bed and they drove you around, and the actors stayed far away from you because they didn't want to get crushed under a truck. And there were only a certain amount of people allowed on there, because when you jump, you don't want to fall into other people and knock them off. It was already designed with that kind of space in mind. And I think haunts like that are maybe not quite at the same level as some of the big, the ones you hear about nationwide, but some of the more regional haunt parks will be more easily adapted to this, especially like those haunted hayrides and those outdoor things, because having done haunts in the past, when you just straight up don't have money for all the walls, you just get a big open park area, and you're just like, follow the red tape on the ground, and then it's not a scare zone, it's a walkthrough, so it's needs must. So
the other thing too is we may see a lot of the other independent haunts coming to the fore, and especially with the kind of disjointed reaction to this virus. The one flip side to that is that the different states have varying degrees of what's the word? Varying laws that may or may not allow for different things. Utah's Fear Factory did a halfway to Halloween event at the end of April, I believe it was, and they got to do one night of it before the rules changed again, but it went off without a hitch as they had planned it. Minimal actors, lots of mechanical effects, timed groups, stuff like that.
Yeah. And I think that's a good opportunity for them, because then we will be talking about them on a national scale, and they'll probably get coverage by a lot of sites that maybe don't go into regional haunts and stuff like that, to get called up to the big leagues almost for 1 year. Let's hope for 1 year. We'll see.
But we'll see.
So how does this affect the horror industry overall? not having this? Like, are there other? I mean, you guys, of course, are the big name in horror reporting, but are there other sites, other people you know who kind of have their bread and butter built on only the big theme park haunts, and now they've got nothing?
Well, what's interesting is a lot of the theme park haunts or the theme park sites right now are really struggling. The horror sites, not so much, because there's a lot of other ways to enjoy horror. And like we cover, we cover haunts, games, books, movies. Movies, we are constantly reviewing movies.
Mm-hmm.
But the outlets that are location specific and are covering experiential things,
Mm-hmm.
those are having a really hard time, and I feel for them. This is really awful.
Yeah.
Not to mention, let's put that aside and let's talk about the effect that it's having on the performers. They're having a gigantic season, a very lucrative season for them, completely, taken out. They are going to need all the help that they can get this season.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more worried about the performers, the artists, and everyone that put these shows on. Now, then of course after that there's Christmas, and after that there's New Year's, and then when are we going to be able to start this whole cycle again? So that's more what I'm concerned about. I'm like,
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because I did read something the other day that Dr. Fauci said it's not going to go away. This is it from now on. We need to learn how to live with this, that even if we get a virus, the only way that it's going to, not become a real infectious problem again and lead to another shutdown is living with the social distancing, the masks, the constant sanitizing, and having a certain amount of herd immunity and having a vaccine. But because that, you can get reinfected, the vaccine is not like a one-off cure-all and we're just going to get rid of it like polio. It's going to be around.
No, this is exactly like polio. No, I'm kidding.
I was about to say it's just like when Quagmire, that one Family Guy episode, who comes out of the house, ooh, got AIDS again, let me take a pill.
Yeah.
It's like, that's what it's going to be.
And that's
such
the other aspect. I mean, not to get too medical behind it, but there's the kind of two camps of like the treatment and the cure. And everyone's right now focused on a cure, a vaccine that will stop it, versus a treatment of like, you don't cure the common cold, you don't cure a flu, you just kind of manage it and you can treat the symptoms of it. So is there a way of doing that? And that's kind of what I've been seeing in a lot of the medical journals and stuff, is there are certain labs and universities working on the vaccine and certain labs and universities working on the treatment aspects of it. Because even if it becomes more treatable, then it's not quite so bad, because you get it and then there's a way of reducing the symptoms, and hopefully you don't die unless you have some sort of pre-existing condition, and then it becomes almost like a flu, but like with much bigger consequences.
Right. And that Dr. Shelton, that is actually what is making this situation so difficult and so nebulous, is that not only do we not have a vaccine, we don't even have a good treatment for the symptoms. So that's the big problem. That right there is the problem. So there's no way to fight, and not to mention the fact that we don't know a lot about it.
Mm-hmm.
So they're estimating a vaccine by spring of next year, and that's an early estimate.
Yeah,
a very long, far-fetched estimate.
Yeah, and they don't, then of course they have no idea what the virus is all about. If you can get reinfected, they're pointing to yes, that you can. Then there's the long-term effects, the inflammatory diseases, the rashes, the the respiratory repercussions. So there's a lot that we don't know. It's like we're all wandering a very large nationwide version of Fog Alley and not Scary Farm, where we have no clue what's in front of us, and we have no clue what's behind us, and we're just kind of wandering, and we have to move forward because that's where everyone's going.
Yeah.
So
do you see a way that it could be possible to do a haunt next year if we have a year to plan and things are probably going to be the same way in that the virus is still around and we care even less by this time next year? Do you think that haunts as a business, as an attraction type, will be able to fit in this brave new world that we have to go into?
I do. And I will tell you why. Because this came, number one, okay, for lack of a better term, this came out of nowhere. And we all thought it would be done, but it wasn't done. So nobody knew how to plan for it. Nobody knew how to go about dealing with it. We, again, as I'd said before, we really didn't know a lot of the rules, how it was transmitted, how it was this, how it was that. There was a lot of unknown. Now, if we basically just cancel any in-person events for Halloween this year, that's going to suck, but we will have an entire year to plan on how to do an effective scare from a distance next year. Do I think things will be back to normal next year? Nope. Will they be a lot better than this year? Absolutely, because we know we will have had this experience from this year, and then planning moving forward. And people might be a lot more acclimated to wearing masks and PPE and protective gear, or it might by that time be more of a habit for people to be washing hands, sanitizing. And that's, again, and on top of that, we will have had an entire year of research on treatment, a possible vaccine that might be effective. We will have a little bit more freedom in that regard, and a lot more knowledge. But unless things are really rosy and really moving forward, I don't see how we could even have these massive throughput haunts like Knott's and Universal, because they depend on numbers.
Yeah,
that's how that is. That's how those theme park haunts are, and you have to love it or not. Some people can't stand the conga line thing.
Yeah.
And being backed up in a maze and all of that business.
Yeah.
And the next year, the businesses that depend on that type of throughput are really going to be struggling. They're going to be back, but it's definitely going to be a struggle. I hate to put it that way, but I don't see this ending anytime soon.
Yeah, I agree. It's unfortunate, but I hope it doesn't last to Christmas. I know it in my heart that it's going to, but I hope it doesn't, because at least with, Halloween is all about parks and everything, and it's coming up much faster than anybody other than people in the haunt industry like to think. Like, July is late for the haunt industry, but for everybody else, they're not thinking about Halloween quite yet, let alone Christmas. But the fact that we don't have a handle on it, we don't even have a finger on it yet.
I mean, literally last year we were already getting maze announcements in February.
Yeah,
like they kicked things off with Stranger Things. Yeah, and then right after that, Knott started teasing things, and but yeah, I mean, like when we crossed July, I was like, yeah, and still hadn't heard anything. It was like,
Yeah.
And then we heard like with the Queen Mary Dark Harbor closing in Orlando and here for this year for the season. And then when when last week when me and Charlie were at Knott's, you walk around and you could tell, and you're thinking in your head like, how can they operate?
Now let's be clear, Knott's has not announced anything yet.
No, not yet. Not yet, but
we're on the verge.
Yeah.
I give them 72 hours.
You think so?
Yeah, I think they will. Because honestly, of the two, I was expecting Knott's to bow out more than Universal.
Yeah, I really wish that Knott's would have led the charge in safety and set the precedent. They are the inventor of the theme park haunt.
Yeah.
And you know, that's it. It would have been nice to see them come forward and say, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
But again, it's not. I can't fault them for what is. Everybody doesn't know what's happening.
Yeah,
it's not like I'm trying to read them on that. It's just that Knott's is the original. So and it's.
But I think it's also that we all kind of knew it was coming. We knew they were both gonna duck out at a certain point. But it's like, who's gonna be the one? All the boys and the girls are on opposite walls. Who's gonna be the first ones to walk into the room? And everyone's tentative because we know kind of the implications of what we're saying. Nobody wants to be the first stroke to kill Halloween. So I understand why they waited so long.
Yeah, there's the hesitation is completely understandable.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
That's a really
huge
chunk. Yeah, this is a huge chunk of their budget or their revenue for the entire year. And this is a massive there's a huge community surrounding Halloween in Southern California, much less all over the country. So this was a big blow, but
especially over the years where Christmas was once the sole holiday for everybody, and slowly but surely through the haunts and through everything that was going on in the popularity, Halloween was already at the same level or even past it.
Okay, let's be clear. Halloween has always been better. It's always been better. It's just everybody else caught up to the horror fans. Okay, so we've been enjoying this for years. So
I know that back in the day, Bob Burns did a couple of haunts at Six Flags. And that I worked on his last Halloween show that he did, The Thing, in 2002. And it was, do you know Bob Burns? Mr. Horror? You don't know Bob Burns?
You know what? Take my card. I'm sorry. I don't. It's not that I don't want to know.
Okay, yeah.
But please school me.
I will. Get your pens and papers out. We're turning to page number 1.
And we're giving Charlie the screen.
There you go. Bob Burns.
We need a flashback effect.
Do you have like the wavy lines?
Yeah.
Bob Burns is one of the most prolific film relic collectors. He's got the armature of the original King Kong from 1933. He's got the Creature of the Black Lagoon suit. He's got the head of the Alien Queen. The Time Machine from the H.G. Wells movie with Roddy McDowall. I mean, just everything. He's got stuff from the theme parks everywhere. And because of that, he gets to know a lot of the people in the industry.
Okay.
And back in, I think it started in the 70s, everybody in the industry who had some time off just decided we're going to put on a haunt at his house. And he bankrolled it every year. And it was the best of the film industry coming together in a time when everything was still practical effects to do a haunt at the absolute best level they could. And some of them were just unbelievable. And I think there's a couple of documentaries out there about him where they talk to him and look through his museum and everything. And some of those haunts have been committed to film and then transferred to DVD and all that stuff. I haven't found any of them that go as far back to the 70s. I've seen one old, like 16 millimeter home film of one that he did at Six Flags, and it was an open air, the little train that goes around the park. And it was just all ghillie suit people. And then he had one section that I think was Alien. And so it's always like a big monster movie that they do. And his last one was in 2002. And my dad's a special effects guy. So he was talking to a friend of a friend of a friend, and got us on there, and we did it. We built that house. I think that was probably my first or second haunted house that I worked on. And we did The Thing from Another World, the old 1940s version. Mm-hmm. And it was incredible. Dan Roebuck was, he's a character actor. He played the main guy and took everybody through in tour groups. And it was very short, but it was all timed like a show. I mean, just incredible. And we built this in his house on his lawn in Burbank, and it was free. And like everybody just stopped by. There was lines down the block, and we did it for 2 or 3 weekends.
Wow.
And it was just incredible. But back in the day, because he got notoriety from, I think it was the Alien house, and then he had the Alien Queen head as the final piece, using it from the movie. And he got known for that. And so they went to Six Flags and did the train and everything. And like all of that kind of stuff, these cool old things that all these guys who are still around, a lot of them are still around, just bring them out of retirement and let's do that again.
Right.
That's
there. Have you been to some of the home haunts in Burbank? Mm-hmm. Like recent? Oh my gosh. Rotten Apple, Backwoods. I mean, they're all so good. And I remember in 2005, it was the very last year for the Hallowed Haunting Grounds.
Oh yeah.
And I got to go, and I still have my souvenir brochure, but it was really cool. I mean, it was just a beautiful yard display of just the most amazing illusions and visual effects.
Yeah.
And there were no jump scares. There were no actors. There were just these exquisite, effects that seriously made you go how did they do that? There would be Pepper's ghost effects. There would be the Haunted Mansion busts, that are inverted so they look like mm-hmm. they're following you. There was somebody at a graveyard, a figure, but like a graveyard figure, and they were doing an incantation, and then suddenly you'd see little sparkles flying up. It was really cool.
That's cool.
And it was very chill, very reserved. In fact, that's something that could easily work in the age of COVID. Mm-hmm. Just
very distanced.
These very distanced, mechanized, but very atmospherically, very atmospheric, very moody things like that mm-hmm. would work wonderfully.
Yeah.
And we'd still get to smell the fog.
And I think home haunters do that kind of stuff well. They do the gadgets and the effects and everything more than the big parks, because the big parks, they'll pay for a giant set piece or like a noticeable character, like a really big costume, all that kind of stuff. At a home haunt, when you've got only your own money, it's kind of like, how do we wow these people? How do we get them to remember our haunted house? You need something really cool. You need that werewolf lunging out of a wall, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And using household items to make it. And those always impress me more. Those individual effects and those kind of things impress me more than anything that the bigger parks do, because you can tell this is from a dozen sleepless nights in a garage, that not from, we had a big latex mold.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's where the heart of haunts are.
Yep.
Well, I'm excited for those, if there are any.
No, there have to be, but
yeah,
it's going to be fine. I mean, we're going to have just a different lo-fi haunt this year. Mm-hmm. I mean, and I hate I hate trivializing this. And, you know, to all the people laughing at the haunt lovers and the horror lovers for being all bummed out about this, you know, just screw you. Like, because this is our Christmas and this is the one time a year we, you know, can actually really let loose and have some fun. And, you know, it's fun. So if you know a haunt actor, haunt artist, or horror fan, you know what? Just send them a text today, or send them a little note, or just give them a hug, or in my case, send booze. And you know, it's just a bummer.
Yeah,
You know, we're all dealing with this. It's not like we're, you know.
And it's worth it to give up the fake bodies so that we don't have to have as many real bodies.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah.
I can only imagine if somebody had like a scare zone planned of a pandemic ward or something like that.
I heard there were.
Oh.
And it was like, ooh.
Yeah.
You know.
And I had thought about that when they first brought this out, and they're like, we're going to be closed for 2 weeks. And I was like, this is going to suck at Halloween. I don't know if like somewhere there has to be like an evil nurse scare zone that someone's planning and they're shitting themselves right now.
Yeah. I mean, like I used to play that virus game on my iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
It was so much fun. It was now I'm like,
it's not an escape anymore.
No, it's not. It's real life. And
it's news. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet you somebody was planning something on that National Geographic show they had last year about the pandemics and everything.
I remember everybody talking about that.
Yeah.
Did you see right when all of this started, there was a movie that was trending that I remember seeing in the theaters called Contagion?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely beyond terrifying when it came out.
Soderbergh film, right?
Yeah,
Gwyneth Paltrow. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what I loved about that the most, and what got me in the theater, because I've always been like mildly germophobic, but not like it's gonna impact my life. But they would go out a door, and then the shot holds on the handle of the door, and he did that for everything they touched. Every time he wiped anything, it was the perfect subtlety of like, you should be afraid of everything in your life. And it just reinforced how afraid I was of everything for years after that.
Sidebar. Soderbergh is so good.
He's
so good.
But that was trending at the beginning of the pandemic. And I was like, why? You wouldn't watch Con Air while you're on a flight. You know, like
that scene in Airplane when they cut to them watching the in-flight movie and it's like the plane going.
Yeah, you don't want to think about that right now. Let's give it some distance. Why would you rent Contagion other than to be like, oh, here's how it's going to go?
Oh well, somebody put up the most hilarious. I mean, somebody, maybe if I can find it, I don't know, but somebody put up the most hilarious image, and it was terrible, but this is how we heal. We laugh. Yeah. And for me, the rule is it's never too soon. But hold on, let me see if I can find it. And I don't know how I would share it with you.
Send me the link and then I could share it.
Okay. So let's move on, and then
I don't know how people in 1918 got through their pandemic without memes. Like you just
seriously. Well,
memes.
they got cartoons from the New Yorker.
Okay. That's
okay.
Well,
so,
now here's the funny thing is like there were some people. I guess they had already leaked out like some of the mazes that were going to be in Orlando.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
And I saw the names, and I was just like, was it true or not? But
they are always leaking. They're always leaking. They're horrible. They're because
I saw one of them was Beetlejuice.
Yeah,
which I was just like, man, how would they do a maze for Beetlejuice? It would have been
same as they did with The Exorcist. How do you do a maze of The Exorcist? Like the whole movie takes place in a room. How do you do that?
Well, and to be honest, the one in Hollywood, it wasn't great.
It was all right. I was impressed just because they were able to stretch an entire house out of one room. You know, like
right, but
just entering the same room over and over again for the different scenes.
It it did make it very repetitive, and there were lots of. There's the image.
Yep.
Oh, that's sad.
We'll give that a full screen.
That came from Danny K. Moy's feed, and I don't know if he made that or not, but certainly not mine. I can't take the credit for that, but damn it, that hurts, and that's funny.
It is funny.
It is. For anyone who's only listening on audio, it's a picture of the Universal Studios logo with a Spirit Halloween banner hanging in front of it.
No,
and I'll put it up.
The art is into Halloween Horror Nights. Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard joking conspiracy theories that coronavirus was engineered in a lab by Spirit Halloween to free up a lot of storefronts so they can scoop them up on the cheap. Yeah,
I know. I got to tell you, my yard display is going to be off the hook this year.
What else have you got going on? Just do it. We're all home.
This is the part where I break down. This is the part where the show gets real.
Okay, well, let's take it positive. What in the future, COVID aside, what is the one property, the one house that you want to see that hasn't been done yet? Like if you could have anything, bar none, blue sky.
Oh hell, I don't know. I would have to think. I mean, they've already attempted many of the ones that I would like to have seen. Trick or Treat, Exorcist, The Shining.
Treat was great.
And Trick or Treat was a lot of fun, but it could have been a lot better.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I liked it. I really thought it was cool. And the way it was vignetted, it kind of did feel like the movie. It didn't maybe have the same feel as the movie, but I think that's just because of the medium.
It's that. See, those are the ones that were so difficult to translate. So I gotta hand it to them though. They really tried, but just there was something missing. I really did like how they approached The Shining, because they just started it right off like with him absolutely nuts, and you going through all these crazy scenes. It wasn't the most perfect, but it was a lot of fun. It was really good. And I went to both coasts, and both were great in my opinion. They pulled different things off that were really good, and then some things where you're like, but I think The Shining was the one that translated the best between the three of those. But I mean, I would love to walk through another Alien versus Predator maze. That maze was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, in Hollywood, the one in Florida was just okay. The one in Hollywood was like,
it was great.
It blew me away.
The 20-foot alien queen. That's iconic. I still, when I do like the lead up reporting and talking about Universal, I still use that image because it's just so impressive.
It was ridiculous. As far as things I would like to see done, they've actually done some wonderful things, like with Creepshow was done well this past year. I really love that they're revisiting the classics. As far as Knott's goes, I just want them to keep doing original stuff, because I love that they are the pioneers of theme park haunts. And I love that they are the ones that invented the medium and continue to innovate. As far as IPs, I'm a huge American Horror Story Asylum fan. I would love to go through an Asylum maze, but I know there's not enough of a fan base for that.
The moment has passed.
Yeah, and it's definitely passed. But I did go when they were in Orlando, when they did like the segmented American Horror Story, and the Asylum section was great. I really liked it.
Yeah.
I don't know. What about you guys?
Mike?
For mazes that I like to see, I think for Universal Studios Hollywood, I've always wanted to see a Treehouse of Horror.
Yeah.
Simpsons
Right.
I don't know how they could do it now or what would be like with Disney.
They wouldn't do it.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to see that because it's such an iconic thing. And now with technology, the way it is with screen technology, you could do something really, really cool that nobody's ever seen before. Another one, which I heard through the grapevine that was supposed to come out this year in Hollywood, which I was looking forward to, was Gremlins. Because I think you could do a very cool thing with that property. But with Knott's, I agree with you. Knott's, like the mazes that Knott's does is just at another level, considering they're all original, no IPs.
Yeah.
And like last year, was it the Curse of Calico?
Oh, that's my favorite maze they've ever done in history of
Origin. That was a perfect maze.
It was perfect in every aspect.
Yeah. And then it was just so good. And it's just that those are the things that I want to see. I want to see Knott's still doing original IPs, seeing new and creative things, especially using the history of the park a lot more. With Universal, would like to see them bring out more of their history of monster movies, because Frankenstein meets the Wolfman was really good. I enjoyed that one last year.
Yeah.
Okay, I actually thought of a few. Speaking of the classics, Troll 2. I would love to see Troll 2 and visit Nilbog. Do you guys know Troll 2?
Not the dancing one, right? With the troll that farts glitter.
No, this is
I'm just kidding.
This is my favorite bad movie of all time. Like it's a sequel to Troll, but it doesn't have any trolls in it. It was a movie that the studio owned and rebranded as Troll Part 2. And it's a terrible movie. It's awful, but it is one of the most enjoyable disasters ever. And it has just horrible makeup and masks and it's so good. Troll 2, you must see it. And I would love to go through a maze. You know, I have the Blu-ray. That's how big of a fan. And it and I turn it on sometimes just because it's a riot. They shot it in Utah with like no known actors, no real actors to begin with, aside from maybe a handful of them. But like, it was just so good. It was so good. And I would love to see a Great Pumpkin Maze at Knott's.
In Camp Snoopy.
Yeah, I would love to see a family-friendly version for a Camp Spooky. And I would love to see a Scary Tales maze at Knott's, because back in the day, I'm aging myself. Back like when they did have Knott's Berry Tales, they used to switch that over to Scary Tales, and it was cool. It was a scary ride there.
I remember that.
They decorated it, and there were severed heads spinning and all these crazy things. And they had actors in there, and you were trapped moving very slow through this ride, and it was fun. I would love to see them do something like that. I would love, God, I had one right on the tip of my tongue too, but Troll 2 now that would be fun.
Yeah. There's one thing that I would like to see, which will never, ever happen.
Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
Well, that would be cool. But also, not at any of the parks that we normally see a Halloween haunt.
Okay.
I would like to see Disneyland. Take not the Disneyland park, California Adventure, and now that they have the Marvel section, maybe do a maze based on the Marvel zombie characters that they had off of the comic book, with like the zombie Iron Man, the zombie Captain America, and everything that they
with the idea of doing a more aggressive haunt over at California Adventure.
Yeah.
And Disneyland Hong Kong already does a good haunt.
Yeah.
You know, with a haunted house, a haunted hotel on Main Street, with a jungle maze, with you know, like they do.
That
They
Alice
already
in Wonderland one was nuts.
yeah.
Like
So
no
they
pun
already
intended.
yeah. They already do that.
Yeah.
But that the audience accepts it out there. Out here, it's a different matter. But they are looking into that.
Yeah. Well, last year for their Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween here in California, didn't they do something like that on the Bear Trail or something like that?
Yeah, they turned Redwood
advertised
Creek
that way. It was not a haunted walkthrough. It was a photo op. It was just one after another where you go in and the villain is sitting there on a vaguely themed throne and you pose for some photos and get your candy. It's a treat trail through the Redwood Challenge.
Trail, but it was focused on the villains. There were no there weren't any scares or anything, right?
No.
It was just a villain's walkthrough. That they could easily just, you know, close up, and then for, you know, the day guests that they could go through, right? And the attraction was open, but when it was the party, they turned on the fog and the lights, and the actors came out and stood in spots. And
but they billed it as a walkthrough because I was like, I'm gonna go. If they're doing a walkthrough of the villains, you charge me anything you want. I'm going. This is happening. And then a buddy of mine was working on it, and he said, "No, this is not going to be what you think. Don't worry about it." And I saw a video walkthrough. It's not worth it. It's not worth it unless you're a kid,
right?
And I think and I really do think that, like, I mean, you can't do this inside the Disneyland park, but you could do it at California Adventure. And I think because it's everything that's in there, what is scared to like a teenage audience and older. There's some kiddie rides, but a lot of it is geared towards a teenage audience and older.
Well, you could definitely do it without muddling the brand of Disneyland. In Disney California Adventure, you could get away with a bit more. There's a bit more liberty that can be taken. So even if they use Disney, well, which they would, but even if they, you know, went nuts with the scary villains,
it's already ghosts. Just
but you know what? Okay, and let's 1 point. Can they 1 year please not have Jack Skellington in there until after November 1st?
This year they're not putting up Halloween overlay at Tokyo. They don't even know if they're going to be open here, but Tokyo said they're not doing it this year. It's going to remain Haunted Mansion the whole time.
Good.
But they're not having like a Halloween celebration either. So it's like, that's all you get.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's something.
I know.
So the one thing that I would like to see, that I've always wanted to see, is Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow.
Oh, that'd be great.
I've always thought that would make, because it's an inherently scary property. Even the Disney one they did is absolutely beyond terrifying. And Tim Burton just did it so masterfully. It's my wife's favorite movie, and we watch it at least 5 or 6 times every October.
They're actually pushing that on Netflix.
It's we've owned it on every medium that has been out since we've been alive, because we watch it all the time. And you know, I mean, it's one of those things where, like, you know, every line in the movie. That's the kind of thing. And I've always thought, even before I was dating her and she was crazy about it, I was like, this is kind of cool. It's kind of spooky. I'd like to see a haunt walkthrough of this, but not, you know, these things tend to be amped up a little bit with more gore and more body parts strewn around just to give it something. I think the minimalist, just empty Dutch household is just creepy and sad and unsettling and very Tim Burton. So if they were to do it that way and leave only the jump scares of the horsemen in certain areas when they come through, and the rest of it is just creepy and unsettling, I think that would be a really cool combination, like scare zone / walkthrough, like indoor, outdoor as you move through.
Right. Yeah, that movie was amazing. It was a really good.
One thing I was wondering though too is Warner Brothers ever going to come back with a Halloween event like they did that 1 year? Yeah, Warner Movie Studios.
Yeah, they used to do the horror made here thing.
Yeah, it was really popular the last couple of times.
It was really good.
Yeah, they didn't do it. Well, they didn't do it last year for a number of reasons, like production, and they were building a parking structure, and there was just a lot going on, and it wasn't going to make any financial sense, and it was like, forget it. But I would love to see them do it again, because when they did do it, it was remarkable.
Yeah, that Arkham Asylum was awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
That was really, and the guy who played the Joker was spot on.
I knew one of the actors who was playing Joker, and he said he had so much fun going crazy with that. You know,
it was better than Jared Leto.
Well, I haven't seen that movie, so I don't know. But yeah, the It house was great. Yeah, it was good. I mean, there was some really good stuff there.
Yeah.
So where do we go from here? Well, Halloween is in our hearts.
Hibernation. No. Wait till next year. No. We're gonna be like bears this winter and just hibernate and wait again in spring.
I'm okay with that.
If only you know what? If I could like just take a nice little, you know, Benadryl and just sleep for a couple of months, I'd be cool. And like wake up all skinny. I mean, come on, who doesn't want that? You know.
Well, I think this is going to be a year of being forced to slow down and kind of a return to form, where you're going to appreciate the small haunts, but also then, you know, on Halloween. And it's unfortunate because it's a Saturday this year. And so like all the bars going to be closed. Everything's going to be closed. You can't really do anything. And it's on a Saturday. We're wasting a Saturday Halloween on nothing. But, you know.
What a great 45th year of life.
Yeah, exactly. But everyone's going to stay home and watch monster movies and get drunk. And, you know, it's going to be like you're in high school again when you don't have money to go into a theme park. And so you're just going to sit around and watch Frankenstein and Dracula all night.
Yes. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
Yes. But I think that the only thing that scares me more than anything that would have come this year is contemplating the hangover I'm going to have next year. after doubling down and partying even harder for Halloween. Yeah, I mean, it's like, oh my god, you know, I just hope we don't go overboard next year, but you know that we will, because
you don't have it this year. You skip lunch, so you have a big dinner.
See, just like Thanksgiving.
Human nature.
Yeah, that's why I say, non-related to theme parks, I'm just hoping AMC and TCM put on a great Halloween schedule.
Because if they don't,
because the last couple years, AMC has not exactly
really.
They've been going over and over again, and it's like, dude, you have so many movies to choose from.
Well, now they're all on HBO Max. TCM is HBO Max. I haven't had TCM since I moved out of my mom's house, and so now HBO Max brought it back, and I'm like, that's
well. And this is and the one thing that Peacock really does have, since it really doesn't have much, is that it has all the Alfred Hitchcock films.
That's all cool. Of them? I didn't know that.
Majority of them. They have a lot of them.
That's really cool.
Property. Super cool. And my favorite Hitchcock is Rear Window.
Yeah.
Followed by Sundown. But yeah. Before I forget, another maze I'd want to see, and Warner Brothers could do it, is Scooby-Doo.
Oh, that
yes. Did you read the Scooby-Doo Apocalypse comic books they did?
No.
Oh.
DC got a hold of the Hanna-Barbera characters, and they gave them all really cool grown-up updates. And so like Wacky Races became like a Mad Max race for survival, and the Flintstones was drawn by like a real artist where they're not like cartoony, and it's just, you know, about family dynamics in the Stone Age. Scooby-Doo was the monsters are real, and they all the Mystery Machine gang have to like stop these monsters in the apocalypse. And so you know, Scooby-Doo is like a bionic dog, like in Fallout, I think. They keep making references to something. And, you know, Velma is the tech whiz and Shaggy is a hipster, and like all these things set amidst all these great monsters. That would be a really cool port from a comic book to a haunted house.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Yeah,
I would love to see that. Except I will say that the monsters all need to be grouchy old white men who, are just trying to hide some treasure. That's to me. That's
what brings you back to reality. It ties it into the real world.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
Well,
like,
to the real world.
it just has to be that. It
that when
has
they
to
put
be
out
where they. Yeah.
Anybody brown in cages or what?
Now, damn.
That's getting a little specific. I want to make it clear, Norm and I did not say that.
I'm just saying it because we're getting close to real life with this.
That's another podcast.
Exactly.
That's another presentation entirely.
And nothing scarier than that.
Or Phantasm. That'd be a good one.
Oh yeah, that would be.
Oh, and finally, sorry. Why am I? I needed a minute
because you're the horror guy. You should. If you weren't coming up with more, I'd be like, come on,
guys. Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. I need a Halloween 3 maze.
Didn't they? They did Halloween.
Oh, they've never done.
No, they did 1 and they did 2, but then they jumped to 4. Because 3 is not canon. It's its own little thing.
Really?
Yeah. You've never seen it?
No, I've only ever seen Halloween and then the remake Halloween.
You never seen it? It has the mask.
We have much to discuss, Charlie.
Yeah, I don't. The 80s horror films are not really my speed.
Don't you dare!
I've seen them. All right, I've seen the basics.
Watch Party.
Now that would be fun. That's what we do for Halloween. Get all your horror friends together. We do a Park Central live watch party of all these movies.
Well, I was planning a Horror Buzz one, but
there you go. Okay,
there you go.
Then we'll do it with Horror Buzz.
We'll jump on Horror Buzz.
My party, man.
Okay, Frankenstein. Yeah.
But no, Halloween 3 would be amazing. And what would be really cool is if everyone had to go in wearing a mask.
See, that's funny because they do. I get
it. But because like at a certain point when the music comes on, like the mask activates and makes their head like come out with snakes and spiders and centipedes and.
Ew!
Hey, with
so good.
Hey, movie
with augmented reality, that could actually happen.
It could.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be a good one. I vote yes.
Yeah.
I vote yes.
Well, now that we're getting a Super Nintendo World, they can make a maze for Luigi's Mansion.
Oh, that'd be fun.
That'd be fun.
As a nice, fun little kiddie maze.
That'd be cute.
Yeah. Because we're not getting any Harry Potter stuff or Simpsons stuff. So, something that ties into any of the lands would be really nice.
That's why I say the countdown's on with the Simpsons already on how long it's going to be.
I know. It's such a bummer, but listen, I got to say, I'll come out and say I'm not a fan of the Simpsons, right? I think that it's very well written, but
it's all right.
The jokes are great, but needs to go.
Yeah. I would have rather kept Back to the Future.
No, that was getting long in the tooth too.
Oh,
Tony Baxter. It was a great ride, no question. But it was dated, so they either needed to update the attraction with modern technology, make it something more than just an Omnimax screen, really take it to the next level and play on the nostalgia, or just like level the building and do something. Like Tony Baxter one time said that if Universal were smart, his word, he's like, if they were really planning the Harry Potter thing, they would have bulldozed the Simpsons and put Hogwarts at that end of the park.
Oh yeah.
Because it would have been like this thing, you're walking into the park and you look all the way down. Yeah. It's a big weenie all the way down to the end of the park. And then on top of that, it's on top of the hill.
Yeah.
And you could see it throughout the entire valley. He's like, that would have been amazing. But
yeah,
it's okay. you know. So
that's another show that I would like to examine, and this is something I think we had slated in the initial iteration for the Make Believe show, is the difference between parks like Universal that kind of grow out of necessity of like, we built this movie studio, now we're going to cram all this stuff around it, versus Walt Disney World, where it's like, we saw what we did wrong, we need space, and so everything is so much more built out. And then even better with Epcot, where now it's this whole gigantic thing, or something that, you know, like Knott's or Six Flags, where it started as one thing and then kind of gets amalgamized into something else. Each one has its own issues, and I feel like Universal's biggest problem came from its location, and that was way back in the day. It's the fact that they're hemmed in by Hollywood, and that they're Universal Studios, so they can't really get rid of the studios. Otherwise, it's not what people are coming to see, I think. And so it's a weirdly designed park and kind of just making do with what they can.
You said making do, so that's funny. But also, Universal Orlando was conceived as a theme park first. Universal, Hollywood was a studio that built a theme park onto itself. So,
and that's the thing, is that's the biggest flaw about the park, is that it's not really a park, it's a studio. And so that's not something, it's not like the people who are in charge of the park right now are screwing things up. The issue was made when the studio was founded, because they didn't think of 2020, we're going to have this gigantic theme park and want to expand into Harry Potter. But like, that's so distant, it's not something that could ever have been foreseen.
They were so stupid. No, I'm kidding. They were so dumb.
And look, Battlestar Galactica became popular again, and they took it out to put the Back to the
I
Future
remember
out.
that. I remember the first time I went on that thing. I loved it.
Now they've got the Fast and Furious thing, where the tram experience Battlestar Galactica used to be. Like, come on.
Huh?
No.
No.
There used to be a tram experience of the Battlestar Galactica show.
Yes, that is true.
Yes, that is true. But
That was where the Starway is now.
Oh, I thought it was where, because didn't that come out to become Avalanche?
No, Battlestar Galactica was on, I guess that's the north-facing hill that faces the lower lot area now.
Okay, I know where that is.
So, yeah. So
okay, I was turned around. What was there before Avalanche?
The Mummy,
the tunnel, the ice tunnel. There was the Avalanche. Well, that was the Avalanche, and then it was the ice tunnel Mummy thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was Battlestar Galactica was over there. But anyway, so Haunt's done.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm calling it now in July. Christmas is going to be done too.
Yep.
So
good.
Probably.
Well, pardon my French, but Christmas is an asshole.
Well, sir, you're getting a lump of coal.
Yeah,
good.
I think we're gonna have a little fight on that, because I love Christmas.
Good. You know what? I've been crushing coal into diamonds my whole life.
Okay, Cameron. Okay.
All right. I didn't tell you how I did it.
Oh,
well,
boy.
I think that's all we've got for this week. You guys want to let them know what you got going on?
And with turning coal into diamonds.
Yeah, we're gonna. This is about to go in a different direction that's going to make me have to rebrand the podcast. So let's stop it here.
Speaking of ends. Oh, I'm so angry. Okay.
So what other than reporting on Halloween Horror Nights do you have going on?
Just movies, games, and books right now. Also some immersive virtual horror and experiences that people can visit from the safety of their own home using VR technology. So that's a thing now. Yeah. So you know what? Side note, I also don't see that going away when
The VR stuff.
Yeah, I only see this coronavirus situation as something that will propel that particular type of experience. It's not going to go away.
I agree, and I like that. I like VR.
Yeah,
Makes me
it's great.
incredibly sick, but I enjoy it so much.
Oh, I love being sick. Okay, so that's what we're covering. So
cool, Mike.
Cool. We're back here in 2.5 hours for Muse News. We're taking the second half of the Comic-Con day and taking a look at that. And that's what we're up to.
All right. And I'm Charly Shelton with Park Central and Make Believe. We're here every Saturday as a podcast and as a video cast on YouTube and now Twitch. Yay, Twitch. So you can find us here every week. Thanks for stopping by.
Cool.
Bye.